Karen Atwood, Director of Consumer Credit Counseling Service of Northeastern Iowa. In an effort to bring more credit education to the public, we at CCCS present 2 programs each month on KBBG Radio. They're on the first and third Tuesdays from 10:30 to 11 a.m. and they're repeated in the evening. They're call-in shows, and we ask your participation. If you have questions or comments you want to make on budget, your money, any one of those, any aspect of it, give us a call. That phone number is 234-1441. Today we're going to deal with a special aspect of money, and that is identity theft. Until, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, it was an unheard of thing. But with the many things that we have, the computers, email, cell phones, all of a sudden protecting your identity is more important now than ever. But before we can protect our identity, we have to truly know who we are and how our identity is out there. And today, to discuss this topic with me, I have Ryan Daniels. Ryan is with Community Bank and Trust here in Waterloo. And good morning, Ryan.
Good morning.
So what would you like to start off with that topic of identity theft?
Well, like you said, identity theft is becoming more and more prevalent with the technology nowadays. It can come at you in a lot of different ways, whether it's out of your wallet with one of your cards, if it's somebody getting hold of the information on your checks that you're writing, if it's, then through the internet, through online sources, especially. There's so many ways people can get a hold of your identity and use those as fraud, to steal or take your money.
A number of years ago, a young gal had split from her husband, and her things got thrown out, as did his. Well, then one Saturday, the sheriff's office was at her door, and she was kind of surprised. Just, what is this? Well, checks are being passed around town. One was as much as $1,000 for cigarettes. Now, you would think that the clerk would say, whoa, something's wrong here. Then, when they started matching descriptions, they knew she didn't have anything to do with it. But from there on, it was answering continual police questions. Here's another charge, here's another state, here's another county. So you have to know where your goods are. You have to protect yourself.
That's right. There's so many different ways that somebody can come at you, and there's a lot of safeguards in place nowadays for that. The bank puts in a lot of safeguards for you, and so sometimes, if your identity is stolen or money is taken from your account via either debit cards, stolen checks, a lot of those times now you're not liable for that, but there's still the time and the stress and the agony that you go through to get while it's being cleaned up and taken care of.
Well, and you have to realize it happened. If you don't pay attention, that little $5, oh well, that's not a big deal. Then next thing it's 15 or 20, and the banker or your credit card company is going to say, what do you mean you don't understand it? It went through last month, it went through the month before. So you need to, if you don't recognize an item on a credit card statement or on a bank statement, get a hold of the credit card company or the bank. And I had a heavy one hit me. I love the online banking. I just think that is such a help. You can look at it anytime, day or night. You don't have to wait for the statement to come in a mail. You can go look on it, and you can make sure that you are positive and you're not going to get hit with NSF or an automatic debit's not going to come out, leaving you high and dry. You can look at it and keep track of what you're doing. So I looked on mine. only to find that a cell phone company had taken $400 out. I don't use that account for any cell phones. So I called them and they said, oh, it wasn't us, your account's perfectly fine. It must be your bank. I called the bank said, oh, it's not us, it's the cell phone company. But if you don't stay on it and continue and go back and forth until you get a resolution, I would have been the one out the $400.
That's right, yeah. The key is to keep monitoring your stuff. I mean, you know, years ago, you'd have to wait each month for your monthly statement and then, you know, settle your accounts via that, you know, route. Nowadays with the online bankings, the mobile apps on your phones, anything like that, you can check your account and anything that's coming in, going out on a daily basis, several times a day for that matter. You know, and the key is to a lot of, you know, whether the banks and maybe charges that have come out of your account that weren't you, or, you know, credit cards to dispute items. There's usually a time limit on that. You have to dispute that item within 30 days, 60 days, you know, whatever that company's stated time is. So the key is to stay on top of your accounts, making sure you're reconciling them every month. If there are any transactions that you're not 100% sure you made, that's the time you need to get on the phone, make some calls, do some more research, find out what that company was, you know, were you in that area during that time, those kinds of things, and get on that right away.
I've never found a credit card company or a bank or credit union unwilling to help. They're always extremely willing to help you figure out the problem. And I'm sure that's because they want you as a consumer. They want to keep you there as a customer. You make a lot more money to them by being there than if you just get all ticked off and leave and start yelling and screaming about how they wouldn't help you. So they're very much willing to make your life easier.
That's right. I mean, banks have a large combination of safeguards in place to help prevent these things, but ultimately they're going to happen. They still do happen. So, you know, as a bank, we do lots of employee training, making sure that all your personal information is staying private. We have strict privacy policies in place. We have rigorous security standards and lots of encryption systems through, you know, for our computers, our servers, our online banking, any of those types of things to help prevent these kinds of things. So there are a lot of systems in place. Now, then, you know, the next step is if it does happen, and it still does, there's, you know, these people will find ways to get around things or come up with your information. So the key is to reach out, you know, if it's your debit card or checks or anything with your bank account, reach out to that bank immediately so they can either cancel that card, you know, possibly even close the account if there are the checks going through, or, you know, at least they can put some alerts out there notifying everybody that, you know, there's something going on.
Traveling. When I travel, I always call, I won't say always, I usually call the credit card company. And then I don't have any questions. You might buy gas in Oklahoma or California or something like that, and they won't question it. However, my experience has been if I don't call them and let them know, then my husband will get a call at home and say, what's this charge from Texas doing on your credit card? Have you been there lately? So see, this is just keeping them abreast so that they can protect you.
Well, that's right. Yep, there are lots of security, you know, features built into your account. So anytime that you leave the state, if you live in Iowa and most of all your purchases on a day-to-day basis are right here in Iowa, and then all of a sudden there's a purchase coming from, you know, the West Coast or something, that's going to raise a red flag. And so they'll put a hold on your card and not let that work again. And as long as we've got a current phone number on file for you, you keep us informed on all your current information and addresses, phone numbers. We would try to reach out right away and just say, there's this transaction coming through from New York. Are you out there? Is this you? And as long as it's you, then they'll verify, you know, who you are and everything. Then, you know, they'll release that stop on that account. But if you don't, and you start traveling someplace, or a lot of times too, if you're buying something online, and that transaction comes from, the company that it's coming from may be out of someplace, other here in the country or out of the country, that's also gonna raise some red flags. So you just need to be alert of where you're purchasing things online, where those things are coming from, and then, like you said, letting the bank know before you travel where you'll be traveling, specifically where you'll be traveling, what dates you'll be traveling, so that they can be aware of that.
I bought something at a farmer's market a few years ago. And I must have used my credit card. I didn't realize it until I got a bill, and I got this strange name place, and then they tell me it's in someplace in Michigan. I'm thinking, whoa, I haven't been to Michigan, what did I do? So the credit card company gave me the phone number for the company. I contacted them, and then they told me the dates they had the farmer's market in Cedar Falls. Oh, and then I remembered what I got. So it was taken care of.
Yeah.
And another time, years ago, I was at Panera, and I went to pull my change out, didn't have it, so I used my credit card. Well, that came across as 3 initials. And once again, I thought, oops, somebody got something, but that was a legitimate charge.
Yeah, there's a lot of times that the descriptors that come through on the account, whether a credit card statement or your bank statement, it could be the parent company and doing business as, but it'll
Right.
come across as that parent company, and you're not aware of that name. You've never seen that before. You're walking into some shop that you know regularly, and the name that's coming across in your statements doesn't match that. So a lot of times when somebody first does come in or calls and they're suspicious about a transaction, try to do some research right away. Hop on the computer, just type that into Google or something like that, and see what comes up. Because a lot of times you can find out, oh yeah, I do recognize that company now, or yeah, well, I was there. That would be mine. But if it's not, then we've got the routes that we can dispute that.
You still get a receipt typically with a charge. So a client one time told me he keeps all of those in his wallet until they're paid. So if you did get something like that on a charge card, you could look at your receipts and match them up, and you wouldn't be calling anybody. But I guess I'm just not one who keeps all the receipts together.
I'm not either. No, I'll check my account regularly and do some research if I'm not sure what that is, but I'm not good on keeping receipts in my wallet either.
Well, if you find that you're quite sure identity theft has occurred, first thing you want to do is place a fraud alert. You want to get the credit bureau involved. You may be going down to the police station. Can you tell us the steps a person would go through?
Yeah, so there are different steps for where the fraud's occurring. If it's in your
Okay.
bank account, through your debit card, or your regular checking account, first and foremost, you reach out to that bank, let them stop the accounts, close the accounts, do what they need to do, and they'll work with you then to make sure that everything is cleared up there. So keeping on top of your monthly statements, checking your online banking frequently, making sure that all those transactions coming in and out are yours is important in that aspect. If each year you can get your free credit report from all three, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion through annualcreditreport.com. I think that's important to do. You always want to keep on track of your credit, even though you might not see anything coming in and out of your bank account. Somebody may have stolen your social security number, your date of birth. Have enough of your personal information. They could open up a line of credit or open up a credit card. A lot of credit card companies, I don't think, even pull credit sometimes. So if they'll just mail out a credit card if you send an application and all the information matches. So keeping on track, checking your credit report each year will keep on track of if you have any items that somebody might have stolen your identity and opened up a line of credit or some other form of credit.
Yeah. Well, we're going to take a little bit of a break, and we'll be right back.
Do you remember the worst thing you've ever found? For me, it came with
Okay.
shingles.
That is
healthy woman in my early 60s. I didn't
Child
know what was
identity
a risk of
theft.
shingles.
Now, I have
So
found
when
that
my
in
back
high
started
schools.
hurting, I felt
Did you ever use
sciatica.
How did
And
that break
it
it off?
became so unbearable.
The first time I ran into that, I couldn't believe it.
Even though I didn't have a rash, the doctor told me.
Then I had a tenant
He was
have
right.
utilities
The
in my
rash
two-year-old's
appeared a few
name.
days later. If I had known that shingles
Yeah. And also,
vaccination was
I've heard awful
recommended
about
for people my
tax
age,
related ones.
I would have gotten
Doing
in
tax
there.
refunds, because I know, you
This
and
is
I
Dr.
had
Susan Reed
that a
of the
couple
National
years ago,
Foundation
and
for Infectious Diseases. Shingles strikes about a million
school
older
districts or
Americans
something here
every
last year
year.
had
The
that
disease
too,
causes a rash with
customers that
severe pain that can last
had that
for
happen
months
here the
or
last couple
even
years, so that
years
must be-
after the rash heals.
Stand by.
Vaccination can help prevent shingles
Let's
in
go into
adults
that
60 and
next.
older. There are a number of other vaccines adults should also receive. Ask your doctor about which ones you need. More at www..
3, 2, 1.
Hi, this is Karen Atwood with Ryan Daniels, and we're here on You and Your Credit talking about identity theft. The warning signs of identity theft, if you see that the charges are something you don't recognize, you place calls or you contact, you can't get a good answer, then go the next step, dispute it. And all of the companies will say, hey, if it's not yours, dispute it. Follow their procedures. If it has to be a written statement of dispute, or you can scan in your dispute and send it, do so. Get it done immediately. Don't let it wait till tomorrow or next week or whatever, because you could run out of time. I have been disillusioned many times to find high school kids who know they have bad credit because their parents used their credit because they couldn't get any themselves. So if you're one of these young persons who has bad credit, I would encourage you to build good credit and just remember how you're going to report that to someone who's looking at your long-term history. Another thing that happens is people using your information for tax purposes. And Brian, I think you said we ran into that a year or so ago.
I think we've had a couple of instances here in the Cedar Valley with tax-related identity theft, where basically somebody, an identity thief, could use your social security number to get a tax refund, or a job for that matter. You know, you need to, if that's the case, if you come tax season and you're filing your taxes and all of a sudden whoever is helping you with your taxes says, oh, there's already, you know, a refund or a tax statement out there for you, that's a red flag. Somebody, you know, may have taken enough of your information to try to get a tax refund under your social security number. So, you know, if that ever happens, first and foremost, you need to contact the IRS right
Yes.
away.
Yes.
And
I had a friend come to see me, and she wanted me to line up her tax things for her. And as I was going through them, and this person is retired, been retired for many years, there's a W-2 from a construction company for about $8,000. She said, and it was a man, and this is a lady, and she said, why would I have this? I said, well, he's got your social security number. So the first call was to IRS to get it squared away. And I would think that kind of dollar amount meant somebody wanted the earned income credit. So they probably were reporting a family so they can get a nice $12,000, $13,000 in earned income credit. So that's all very important. Keep your personal information confidential.
that's right, yeah. I mean, identity thieves could use your social security number, your information to, you know, file, you know, get a job and file that under your social security number, or file another tax return. So anytime you get any kind of notice from the IRS stating that, you know, there was more than one tax return filed, or you were paid by an employer you don't know, you need to reach out to the IRS right away. Now, another thing to keep in mind with all of these situations as well is also, though, be leery of possible documents that are being sent to you stating there might be fraud. I mean, if you're getting an email from the IRS or something in that situation, that's just another, you know, way the identity thieves are coming after you. So make sure, take the time, go through your mail, read everything, make sure that it's legitimate before you reply or send anything back.
I think that was a year ago or maybe two, where there was a lot of that going on. Because I even got an email about my identity having been compromised with my return. Whoa, no way, no
Yeah.
way. And so you have to know what the possibilities are, and you have to be willing to check it out.
That's right, and be aware of how your bank contacts you, how the IRS would contact you. Like again, the IRS isn't going to send you an email. The IRS isn't, your banks generally aren't going to ask for personal information. Aren't going to call you or send you an email, or unless you've already spoken to them and know that it's coming. Mailings, there's so much spam mail now via email or just regular mail that you really need to go through that diligently and understand what's legitimate and what's not.
A guy called me one night, this is a number of years ago, and he said, Karen, I'm really worried. And I said, what's up? And he said, IRS just called and they said, I didn't pay my taxes and I owe them another $10,000 and I need to get a check in the mail. I said, halt. You do nothing until you see something in black and white. You have to be notified in writing. Nobody is going to do that, and no one should respond that way. I had seen a credit card company do that to a client also. The lady was over 80 years old. Her bill had not been paid for some time, and an employee called and he told this lady he was coming to get her, he'd be there that night, and she better have the money. I told her, and she did tell me she had it taped. I said, take it to your attorney. I think you ought to write the bill off that way, because they can't do that. I do not believe you're going to see any creditor doing that to you today. But it is a way of getting information and scaring you to do things you never would.
Yeah, it's just another way with identity theft and fraud happening so frequently. Again, this is just another way that these thieves have decided to come after you. They trick you into thinking you want to be leery, you want to be keeping an eye on everything, and saying on top of any notice that you do get saying possible fraud or identity theft. But so they're taking advantage of that now and sending letters or something saying there's identity theft or fraud happening, and send me all your information or send me the money because you're late. And that's just another way that these thieves are stealing.
And another thing that happens is you'll get a phone call and they'll say, we're working on this, and can you give me your social security number so we can do, or can you give me your bank account number? And we had a lady that did that several times, and she had to close every account she had opened because she just didn't realize she was opening herself up to just losing everything she had.
A lot of times, with the elderly,
Yes.
somebody that might be more vulnerable to that. I've seen situations where an elderly client that got a call about her computer. And sometimes elderly aren't the most knowledgeable when it comes to computers, and they said, oh, your software is out of date, it's about to expire, crash, we need to update that for you. So she said, oh, okay, and she somehow got them onto her computer, or at least gave her, that they pretended like they were doing something to her computer via wherever they were from, and she had no idea that that's not, not really possible unless you grant them access to your computer. So at the end of this, they said, okay, we're finished, we just need to, there'd be a small charge, $10, $15 charge, and that seems reasonable. So she gave them her account number and all that information so they could charge her for that $10 or $15 that they said, and within an hour they had pretty much wiped out her account, used some Western Union, some other ways to transfer all that money out of her account. So you need to be really diligent on phone calls, mailings, and that kind of thing to make sure that that's not fraud, and that's not another way that these thieves are trying to steal your identity and take your money.
Easiest way to handle it is hanging up. But if you're getting those calls that are repeated, and many older people are very lonely, so it's almost like they wanna talk to somebody, but they're so dangerous.
Yeah.
Because they are not your friends.
Not at all. They'll be the nicest people to you, and they'll make it seem, a lot of them are really good. They'll make it seem like this is the real deal. But if this is the first time that you're hearing about this, if you're not aware of anything else that you signed up for, you're just not 100% sure that this is legitimate, stay away.
And with the computers, we have our own computer people, hardware people, software people, and anytime somebody calls, we just forget it. I don't want to hear it. I don't care how good your deal is. And that's the way you really need to be, is in control. You need to tell those people you have it, you don't need them. Because if they feel that they can be of use to you, they'll use you for all you're worth, all of the money and everything else. So, the readiness, it's, as they say, it's just like having fully charged batteries. When you know what your passwords are, where they're located, how to get into different systems, how to protect them, how to change them, and when you change them, how to note that. And all of those things are really important. Some of the banks require that you change passwords every 90 days. That's a little bit of a pain, but you know what? It's nice to know you still don't have the same one. And you're protected longer.
That's right. A lot of the security features that are built into bank accounts or any other form of credit or anything nowadays. A lot of it's extra steps. It takes more time. It's more of a hassle. I mean, it's not something that you want to do, but ultimately it's being done to protect you, to protect your money, to protect your assets, protect your identity.
Some people don't want anything to do with electronic payments. I love it, because if I forget, and now it's 4 days before the due date, and if it doesn't hit their hands by the due date, I've got interest, I can get online. Then I can look at it tomorrow and make sure that it's there. We were, a group of us were in Sioux Falls a number of years ago, when Citigroup was still up there. And we went through this large room where they had 5,000 employees on the phones, and you could see them take pictures or look at those checks. And it's such a flash, and they had all the information. Oh, it would be so easy to have an error on one of those checks. If only people had all written nice and clear, but nobody has ever done that. So make sure that when you pay a bill, you know how much you paid to the penny, so that there aren't any, and if there are any errors with the companies, with the bank, or with the credit cards, they will make it right. You just have to be certain that you are right, and you can prove to them quite easily that you're the one who deserves the help. Well, we are coming to the close of our program here. Identity theft is something that none of us are going to be ever removed from, because there will always be people out there trying to get as much from us as they can. So you have to be aware. Set yourself a budget, know what you're going to pay for different items, and know where all of your identity things are. Your checks, your debit cards, your credit cards, all of the means of getting rid of your money, because that's what folks are interested in. Again, this is Karen Atwood from Consumer Credit. 234-0661 is our phone number. We're at 1003 West 4th. And with me today has been Brian Daniels with Community Bank and Trust in Waterloo. 291-2000? Yes. Community Bank has been a long-standing bank in the community, here to serve and help people. And as we have said many times before, the banks are very much a helper for all of us. You have a good day now, and best of luck.